Hey, buddy.
Hello, hello.
Listen. Hello. Is this ain't working this time? We got a new one. High tech, and we got it from the Amazon. Fantastic. We're all going to take 5 minutes throughout the year and become the tech person. All right, so here's the deal. I'm going to go last week this month with John Oliver themes because they didn't sue us. I guess that's this better stuff. So COVID's still happening, right? And yeah, kids went back to school wearing masks, so that didn't change since last year. And the border's still closed. So what did change? We had a barbecue, and we found out that Colin Thornton is a massive Star Wars fan. Massive Star Wars fan. So anytime you get a chance to ask him what his favorite movie is. And he loves Jar Jar Binks. So quote him whenever you can. That'd be fantastic. They called the federal election. The guy on that side called the federal election. These guys are now saying nasty things about the other guys. And at the end of the day, we'll have a drinking contest, and someone will be president. Sure.
Yes.
All right. We introduced a BC vaccination app, which is fantastic. I went to Red Robin for a burger last night, and it was like, here, tap the vein. Like, I had to show ID. I had to do all kinds of things. So if anybody's confused by this, it's soup, some soup, no soup. That's the simplest thing I can ever figure out. Some soup and no soup for you.
I'm back on you.
Yeah, it's gonna get funky. It's gonna get weird.
The old ladies from
Anybody under 40 won't get the.
And I actually think we should open up a series of underground restaurants that just serve food to people, right? Just be nice.
What?
Yeah, I actually think it's gonna be. So here's what happened. Quote of the day. So we got some unfortunate news this morning. Dave Jenks passed away. He succumbed to an illness. And those of you who don't know who Dave is, he wrote or helped write the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. He helped write Shift, and was a prolific speaker, and one hell of a contributor to real estate and personal development matter. So, quote from his last Facebook page, like for a post, was what a journey, so many opportunities, so many lessons. Right? Think about that. Here we go. So yeah. So in honor of Dave. Everybody's supposed to do something nice for somebody today. I thought I'd host an office meeting. No. So we'll do an act of kindness. Go by for the person behind you in the drive-thru.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give somebody a nice thing of rosemary from the garden that you stole from somebody else's garden. Yeah, Gail. Cool. So yeah, or I don't know, pull out the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book or Shift and read a chapter. It's a good idea. Because 2022 starts today. Hello, new real estate agents. How are you? New-ish. 3 years already.
3 years almost to the month.
3 years
Yeah,
already.
with Carolina.
So what you been doing? Well, I had a baby.
Got a baby, got married, bought a house.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I don't want to jinx anything.
Yeah.
We're excited to see you.
I'm excited.
All right. And all the rest of you are important too. Sorry about that. Actually, while we're introducing people, Danielle, you want to say hi?
Hi, I'm Danielle.
You have to stand up and tell us 2 minutes about yourself. I'm just joking.
Danielle's location,
Yeah.
the front desk role, and many other things as well.
So meet if you're on the line. Behave. All right. We like her. All right, 2022 starts today. Why are we saying 2022 starts today?
Business planning.
Business planning. It is cute. Is it cute? Is it cute for you?
No.
October, November, December. We're almost good. I'm giving you a month in advance. I can count before. Actually, just prove I can't count before. But anyway, who's counting? Bad joke. All right. Business planning for next year starts now. If you're not already figuring out where the hell you want to be next year, you're having a hard time getting there. I haven't been in front of an audience for a while, and my profanity is running rampant. I just got back from Courtney, where I'm from Nanaimo, and we used to swear a lot. Courtney? I learned words. Just get coffee in the Word. It was fantastic. Those seniors are nasty. Yeah. We'll sit later and ordering a cup of coffee and drinking it on the beach. Seniors are nasty. That's awesome. Anyway, just listen to the conversation. It's great. We got a lot going on, so they had a lot to talk about. It's fun. All right, and I'm getting closer every day. I think next year when I turn 55, I actually get discounts or something. Denny's. Denny's? Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's kind of ironic you get a discount in the place that will actually shorten your life. It's fantastic. Nothing against Denny's though. All right, so business plan, the cascade effect. So if you're not working on your listing, if you're not working on filling out your sales pipeline, then you're gonna wonder where all your money went. Now the nice thing is, flash forward to the slide where the border is still closed. You can't go anywhere still. Except Colin's going to do Vegas in October. There you go. Bam. You can go. You got to do stuff. So you have no excuse to not focus. For all of you newbies getting into real estate, great opportunity because generally, if the border opens, you can see the wave of regular real estate agents in the business for a while, running towards the border, the airport, for plane, stuff like that to go to someplace. So, opportunity for you to go in, take over the market, dominate, door knock, do all that good fun stuff, right? So here's the cascade effect. It starts with your listing staking volume, contracts written. I'll skip the volume part because it's just the money that goes with the units. When you focus on the units, the money follows, right? Closed units lead to listings sold, leads to gross commission income. So you can work that back. If you're looking at your bank account and going, where did my gross commission income go? Wow, I didn't have any listings. I didn't close any units. I didn't write any contracts. I didn't take any listings. Right? Weird. It's weird how it's all connected. By the way, you can track all of this in public service announcement inserted here. Command. All right.
Run. DJ has a question.
First, VJ has a question. Live from Surrey, VJ Singh. Is he talking or is he?
Raise his hand.
Raise your hand. Speak. VJ, speak. Unmute, then speak. We're going to stay. We're going to pause for VJ. No.
Maybe he just wanted you to say hi.
Hi, VJ.
Hi, BJ.
Him waving, he didn't really want to say anything.
This is the part where Ron gets politically incorrect.
You said you can't unmute.
You can't unmute.
Okay.
Take the duct tape off. Take the duct tape off. Here comes the question. All right. When he gets the question, when you finish typing the question, let me know. So this form is the 135. It's available on KW.com. It's available on KW Connect. It's available on, go to KW Connect. There's a crap load of information in there. It's the watch videos in. So this is a very, very simple KW goal setting tool. It's funny. I sat down with an agent last week. We started week before. Other than the other day. And it showed them the 135. I'm like, wow, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Not a KW. Okay. Like, okay, cool. Here's what 135 stands for. It's one vision for your business. What do you want to do when you grow up? 3 goals that support that vision. So what are you going to do for lead generation? What do you do for marketing? What are you going to do for player retention? Those would be 3 possibilities. And then 5 strategies that support those goals. So what are your strategies on marketing? What are your strategies on lead generation? What are your strategies on retention? I mean, right? Very, very simple tool. And then the key to this and the success of this is to fill it out, put it away, and never ever look at it again. That's what everybody does. We put ours on a wall. We have this there. I would like to, every time we sell one of these, I like to write it out, put it away for 24 hours, pull it back out, pour a glass of wine or a bourbon, and have a good laugh, and then be closer with the mic. They can hear you. It's not very often people actually want to hear what I say. So thank you. I appreciate that, I guess. All right, cool. So go to reveal that? No, not gonna. Yeah, download the 135 if you want the copy. I can send it to you. Yeah, wants a copy? Yeah, I'm not gonna remember that, right? But we'll forget. Yeah, great simple tool if you want to help walk me through. I'm sure we will do a goal setting class somewhere between now and the end of the year. Yes, I'll be hosting that. It'll be fun. They're gonna be great. All right. Cool. Next, stacks. It's a big word. All right, here's where we are. Not going to read through all the numbers, but everything's basically up with the exception of listings taken, which is flat from last year this time. They understand here close to the mic, so now they're blocking the screen. We're going to work on logistics, dude. That's my wife. Put it on the
You
table.
don't have to plug it.
It is.
You don't have to walk for it. It's a good question. I'm not connected on YouTube though. So we can do one step at a time. One step at a time. I just barely figured out how to talk.
Logical.
Yeah. All right, cool. So here's where we are. Well, units are up 0.7%. The numbers at the side year to date, if they have an asterisk, that means we've already surpassed last year's total number. So we're at 2,953 closed units year to date. Closed sales volume, big number. Listings taken volume, listings sold, we have surpassed. So everything is ramping up, except for only profit shares compared to last month. We're still doing okay on the profit share. Terry does not have to move to the cardboard box at Walmart yet. That's already reserved. So here's, did you get the fridge box?
I did.
The double wide, I love that one. Those guys at Gordon will not be happy with it. It's true. So when we talk about order profit, we talk about profit share. We compare month to month with we are one of the only organizations on the planet that shares half of our profits with you guys in the profit share. The way you help us is you participate, you help us with the office, give us some recommendations for agency like. We do have a no asshole rule. Just saying, it's a book title, so I'm allowed to say it. There's a no asshole rule. Don't introduce me asshole. Last time I was asshole.
Stop. You know you're killing my recording.
I know it's fun. All right. It's fun. You gotta have a hobby. All right. Well, gross commission, $32 million year to date. That's pretty fantastic. So congratulations. So again, the thing to focus on right now is taking listings taken by sides, right? If you're not filling your funnel right now, that's when you have a crappy January, February. It's going to take, what's your closing time? How long does it take you to close a transaction right now? 60 to 90 days. Okay. So we are starting to get, actually, I have a slide on this. So just quickly, market share, here's where we are on sold versus asked, us and someone else neck and neck. Everybody's pretty much in that 100% category. If I look at the last couple of months, it's dropping down a bit. Sold days on market, again, everybody's in that very, very quick, generally less than 30-day category, right? And then when you look at agent productivity, so productivity by units, we're winning with 9.1 per agent. And on the volume side, $8.2 million per agent. So good numbers. We like those numbers because it means the revenue is spread out and it's not just that. Well, there's that for sure.
You're speaking of welding.
Picking up welding. Count your fingers now. All right. Here's where we sit year to date for our catch area, including Surrey, Mission, all the other places. So we are 1,500 units year to date, pretty evenly split on the west and buy side. So Century 21 coastal, and us battle back and forth, but we are closing that gap, and they've been in that market for a long, long time. So we like it catching up and having it. Don't tell anybody we're coming. It's fun. Really exciting when we globally dominate through real estate and nobody knows we're coming. So here's the fun slide. So this shows the entire Lower Mainland impact of days on market on sale over ask. Because when you look at the previous slide that said sale over ask is fantastic, and days on market is fantastic, what's happening with your listings right now? Are they selling faster or slower than they did 3 months ago?
If it's priced here in the ballpark of being at market value, it's still in under 7 days.
Under 7 days, okay? So are there properties sitting out there for 30 plus?
Yeah, it's the easiest market to determine if you're overpriced. If you're there longer than 7 days, you're overpriced.
This slide represents the ones that are there over longer than 7 days. And when it sits on the market longer, what happens to the asking price? It drops down, right? So you're seeing price correction. Are you seeing any of your clients who are asking for 6 months ago prices? House worth $1.6 million. Money down the road sold it 6 months ago, right? So this is where that pricing your right conversation is kind of like. There's a great course in the forum called, what's it called? Pricing your right. We'll get Josh's people here. Ross in my time. Okay. So this is just showing where the progression is happening on a week-by-week basis on the market, right? So be aware of your clients. So if you're talking to a client who is saying my house is worth $1.6 million for the 40-year-old BC box in Buffalo, and it's now worth 1.1, which is still pretty good. You show them this slide and say, hey, Look what's happening. You missed the boat. Sorry, buddy. All right, so congrats. Yeah, Steve, join us over the last couple of months. Laura, am I going to read the names off? I always feel like I'm on a morning cartoon show and I read the names. It's like happy
How many of
birthday.
them are here right now?
Carol's not here yet. There you go.
Ben.
Give yourself an introduction.
I'm Rylan Kirby. I don't know if you know my dad, Matt, but
Never heard of him.
yeah, pretty similar, but
We always have to have a it's cool. Coming back. Welcome. Yep. Yes, full trust, including Monica and Susan. So they're in our and Brian and Sharon Venetian, Brian, I just married them, that's nice. So Sharon McKay and Brian Venetian joined us from Brookside. Brian is the guy who did all their vanity program.
Your baby's not calling, I hear.
Sharon maybe shot calling. Yeah, she does. Well, my dad was doing something, she would look after me. Did he balance out the things that Greg did wrong, maybe? So yeah, we're excited to have them join us because of the wealth of knowledge and experience they bring us. Erin may correct me, but I believe this is the only time she's actually physically changed offices. The brand changed around her, but she just stayed sitting in the same chair for 30 plus years. She's loose, get it. Okay. Whee! Stay tuned for more. Dappers, Jenny, Andy, Dan, Caitlin. Caitlin's been here like 4 minutes. Yeah. Felicia, Brian hasn't been here much longer. Crystal, finally she sold something. Mr. McKay. And then Ron Legweba. What his name is? Wolby, and Dylan's been here about 4 minutes too. Wolby, Tanner, Leah, Carmen, Adam, Mr. Singh, Carmen, Simon. I don't know how Simon Kaplan is Stephen. So anyway, so come see me and get a cap. Come see me and get a cap. All right. We love celebrating the cappers because you're happy to be 100% and you're now reloaded. That's fun. October, it also means you made more than 50 grand gross commission. Please make more than $50,000 gross commission. Because after taxes, you're living with Terry in the box. Yeah. The home run block, we had 85 agents who took a listing, wrote a contract, and closed one deal in the month. So I get a lot of questions on this report, which means people are paying attention, which I like. It's really exciting because you want to be on the home run report. It has to be within that calendar month. So if you had one that was like the day before, the day after, that's not going to count. This is tracked by KLU, nothing else. You literally just pull the report and all right. The Elite Awards for August. Congratulations to everybody on our top listing statement. I'm not going to read all the same names over and over again. We'll get the Michael who's got things to say. And then the awards for listing sold volume. You're on there. Give him a round. Like, give a big thank you. You're in a seminar, and you stand on your chairs and do that again. I'm not joking. Yeah, the last one I shoot. Yeah. It's the 20-degree lean shoot. Yeah. It says, I'm confident, and you should list your house with me. Like that. Awards written for written volume. Mr. Leaf, #1 spot. Jason, Rob, Gary, and I was #2, and then all those other guys. We've got some new names on the Jared and hit the list for the first time. Nick and Brian are on there. Sunny Ward Associates rocking the house, and that Bastion and Thornton group guys. They also got a barbecue. And if I failed to mention, Colin Thornton, massive Star Wars fan. Massive. Love Star Wars. Close awards for August, close one. Hey, we got Felicia in there. And if you notice, Amin has dropped down to the #5 spot. All right. You say that we're giving you a hard time. It was like, we don't play favorites, though. It's fine. If we're picking on you, it means like it's like grade 3. Yeah.
Figured it out.
So yeah, top teams for GCI, big deal. We've got the lap group, storm group, best group, full circle real estate group, and the Sunny Broad Associates team. And then we've got Market Real Estate, PMG, and Carmen Duma, the McNabs. Jordan's alive, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Jordan's alive.
He's lost so much weight.
Yeah. So send your happy mojo to Jordan McNabb, who lost the mountain. We're actually going to have the Real Estate versus Mountain Award. John Kemp is in the running, if you want to
Andy Wallace.
Andy Wallace is in the running. So yeah, there's
He lost his weight, though.
Ron, can we go? Yeah, we go on, so they want you to step closer. Right there, don't move.
we're just getting me allowed. We're just getting me allowed. Okay. All right. And then the top 5 individuals, Mr. Jason Sanu, Mr. Scott Leaf, Rob Breckle, Steve Assoon, Slack, and Steve. And again, thank you for listening. Pretty pictures. Cool.
Yeah, no.
That's it. Any questions on stats? Cool. Awesome. All right. And then this guy. Apparently you have to stand right here, Michael. Would you like Michael to stand right here? Yes. Yes, you would. Yes. Good. I'll sit right there. Perfect.
It's better if I'm close to the mic, right? Can they hear me okay?
I don't know. Can
Okay.
They'll respond to you. Yeah, perfect. I don't want to talk. I got a camera there and I
I
got
know.
guys behind me. It's kind of awkward.
I think we should go for a 360-degree stage setup.
You need another camera looking this way and maybe split the screen.
Yeah.
You know, something like that.
All right.
And when you turn 55, Shoppers Drug Mart will give you a discount on Thursdays too. So.
I'm sorry. I don't want to go on.
Is that a prescriptions too?
Oh my God. So I haven't been watching the market as some of you in the room are, but for some reason it seems to be going absolutely insane in the Fraser Valley. I don't know if that's a similar thing. Maybe Matt, you can attest to that.
Yeah, pretty much anything DCAT is gone.
Yeah.
Zero inventory.
What are you seeing with this?
Oddly, a lot of the buyers that I'm seeing are coming from west. So, people from Vancouver, are coming to buy here, they don't know the market, so they're paying numbers that they maybe shouldn't pay,
Okay.
which is totally okay for the seller.
Yeah.
But prices, that's probably the prices I'm seeing, at least what we're working, is we're seeing prices go like quite a bit higher.
And it's the same in the valley right now. Some of the things I've seen in the last few days, we got, a 2008 built townhouse, 1,721 square feet, listed for $649,900, 800.
Where was that?
That would be in Cloverdale. Another one in Cloverdale. We'll talk about that one. That went up a bit, but some of them are insane. We got one in Willoughby, so Yorkson up towards the freeway there. So 800 list, 837.5. Another one 799.5, 800 went for 880. These are mostly old townhouses. One I saw on Sunday in South Surrey in a 1986 complex. The unit was completely redone. It was almost like a house. Listed at 798, went at 875. And this one just blew my mind. It was actually one of the KW agents that sold it, but it was another unit in Willoughby that was listed at 700 and went at 815. So just, giving you my insight on what I'm seeing personally, just so it's kind of crazy out there.
In Saskatchewan, for 850, you can buy Saskatchewan.
Those are all attached. They're all townhouses. And then we look at the Fraser Valley stats that came out 2nd of September. For every 100 townhouses on the market in August, 94 sold. So it's leaving extremely low inventory levels, where we're actually in the Fraser Valley, we're at 1982 inventory levels. So
Not 1982 rates. So much
or not 1982 people.
Yeah.
I think there's been one or two more people move into the Lower Mainland since 1982, something like that. Five? Yeah. So it's kind of shocking. So just, for you, maybe some of you that are not that active in the market, it's just, you've got something to kind of prepare for. coming in. It's extremely competitive out there. I had a listing in Surrey that went active on Tuesday, just after Labor Day. And I was kind of, you're not sure, because I know the market was slowing for a bit. And I wasn't sure whether I was going to do public opens on that one or not, but I knew location-wise that was probably a mistake. And so I didn't. So I did book showings. And I was there for all the showings. And, but I was quite shocked. And I'm sure I've never gotten any complaints about anyone in regards to the stuff I'm going to talk about. But of the masses of people that came to the showings, I had buyers show up with other agents. I had one person, unlicensed assistant, show up with a buyer. Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't you. Oddly enough, it was a team that used to be with KW.
Oh, used to be?
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, so we've begun to deal with that. She already knows.
No, I was just guessing.
Okay.
Yeah, Laurie.
No, she's probably right though.
It's great that
Of that, we ended up on Monday night with 9 offers. I didn't know I had 9 because I had 8, and it was only at probably 9:35 or 9:40. I saw a text on my phone in the last 5 minutes saying what's happening with my offer. So of course you're on your smartphone, you're searching for it. So I go into spam, and there it is.
Oh.
So you might want to tell someone. You want to make sure that if you send an offer, that not only have you sent it, you asked it to get receipt and confirmation.
Received.
Yeah, because that one almost didn't get presented. I would.
That on the high price.
No.
That you accept something and it was like, oh, that agent would be my trouble.
Maybe calling our manager. Who was that?
Yeah. You see him? But the agent who sent the offer and it went to spam, it didn't call you. You don't
He
even
did, okay, I'm gonna say that afternoon he did send a text message, and I never confirmed.
I would be very careful with that because there was a case a while ago, and I don't remember exactly how long, but there was a agent that his property listed. And it's in an area where internet access is cuts. And somebody, another seller sent an offer that they never saw very much. It didn't come through for whatever reason. And they got taken.
The council or the board, it's got to be a board thing, not a
Well,
council.
whatever, they got reported, and they got taken past on it. I think they got, if I remember correctly, I think they got a fine of some kind. Because it was their responsibility to make sure that they had communicated appropriately. So just be careful, yeah, everything.
But wouldn't it be the buyer's agent's responsibility to say, hey, I sent you an offer? Because I've got people where they just send an offer and I've never even heard.
Yeah.
But they just don't.
You didn't even know they showed it, right?
Yeah, so like, how do I, like,
I agree with that. Yeah. That, I mean, it'd be different if you confirmed receipt and then you don't prove that. That would be something different.
That opens an interesting window. Yeah.
And then again, hard to prove. So this is sort of what 8 offers looks like. Like for anyone that's new, I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of paperwork, including all the disclosures, which some people tell me they don't like doing. One's for the remuneration, for the amount of commission you're getting paid. I know you hate it, but.
There was $150,000 fine just got leveled.
Oh, I brought that with me. I saw your thing, you brought it up.
Closing team agreement.
Forging Terry's signature.
And
But
It was all kinds, but I was shocked. I was shocked when I got these offers and I got, I'm a realtor, actually updates the realtor remarks. If yesterday's showing date is gone, it gets renewed. Okay,
I mean, they attention to social listings.
yeah. There probably are still listings on the MLS that say offers to be presented August 15th. Right? Is that a joke? Or the snow picture in May, right? We've all seen those before. But the one thing that surprised me that I had on the realtor remarks, because there's an unauthorized suite in here, we need disclosure. Of the 9 offers, 8 came without the PDFs, which is the disclosure of the unauthorized accommodation.
I got 16 offers recently on the Tulsa property, and I sent out instructions, PDFs, disclosure material, blah, 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 blah. Probably 6 of the non-subject offers that came in didn't have any of that paperwork with them.
And I can't get into the crux, but I had one discussion with one of the realtors. He goes, well, it's in the contract. The fact that the property contains an unauthorized accommodation. The disclosure must be separate from the contract. And you have to present that disclosure. You have to have it and before you accept an offer. So we're sitting there at 9:30 trying to accept an offer that we don't have a disclosure statement. So I'm phoning him saying, we can't do, we're seriously interested in your offer, but without the PDFs, we can't do
This
it.
is what keeps BCFSA busy right now.
It's crazy. The next day, I had one of the realtors, it was either that night or the next day, because I got home and I just sent everybody an email saying that, my client accepted another offer. Thank you very much. We got subjects until next Monday. We did take a subject offer because we couldn't negotiate with the unconditionals to get a date change or anything changed. And she responded, September 20th. Oh, that's a holiday. Are you going to have to remove subjects on the 17th of Friday? Like some of the stuff I just shake my head at. First of all, Election Day is not a holiday.
Oh, that's great.
But I'm sure with some of the more seasoned people in the room, these are some of the frustrations that we had one offer in here. They had, I guess you could do it, but they had, I told Matt yesterday, they got completion date September, say 26th. No, October 26th, possession October 26th, and adjustment September 26th.
October 26th.
No, September is that.
Michael,
Yes.
Jane had a comment there.
Can you read it to me?
Sure.
I don't have anyone.
We're also not receiving disclosure from seller regarding assignment terms with offers.
Well, they actually were good at that. I actually got those. But she is correct that anything that changes the ownership of the property upon closing at the initial stage of the offer, you need notice to seller in regards to assignment terms. I always talk about the pie. If say the husband's buying the pie and he wants to add his wife at closing, that's an assignment. She's getting half the pie, right? And then after the fact, once you have an accepted offer, if there's going to be a change in adding someone to title or something, that this can be done by way of addendum.
The question here.
Yep.
Go ahead, Brian.
Well, it's out, what's there for that problem? Well.
He actually had his hand up. Brian, are you in there?
Gosh.
Oh, no question. Okay.
Oh, wow.
How much is one?
Oh, that was.
That's a bit of a letdown, Brian. Just saying.
I can stop sweating now, right? How's my back, everyone on there? Is it good?
Big shoulders.
Yeah, so, I mean, when you're writing offers, especially, take the time to go over it after you've written it before you send it to your client or take it to your client to sign. And really go over the details. Like if you've got a title and a PDF on the listing in a attached document, you don't need those assumptions. Right? If you've got all the information, why, all of these offers that have subjects all contain a PDF and a title assumption. Why? You're trying to make your offer look attractive for your clients. But some of them, you have to go through, I can't show you, but you have to go through some of this crap. You just can't believe it. These people are licensed in an industry such as ours. But on the other side of it is the people that are really good in our industry. If everybody was really good, your job would be exceptionally hard. Be thankful for the ones that are not very good at it. I'm sorry. It's my shift right now. I'm like, you're an idiot. I will work with you. I didn't say it was their idiots. I said it's the low bar. There we go. I like that. Let's be a low bar, but and it's nice to know that our agents in KW are not getting silly. Like from what I saw even this week, I know it's been going on for a long time. We're really good at what we do. I appreciate that. Makes my job easier. So.
It's like a heartfelt moment right there. No one knows what to do.
Really quiet. I thought
It wasn't sarcastic. The heart is beating fast. There needs to be some buffer there.
When you're done, Josh, is 3 weeks must be.
Are they in reference to what we just talked about, or are they something different?
One is, but when you're done, I'll go in.
Well, you can go with your first comment before we might change topics.
So with respect to showing property booking, you're an agent, you're working for a buyer, and you're showing properties. It's a busy day. You know that the listing agent has a range of times that day where they're going to show. Don't fall in or get lulled into the thought that, hey, it doesn't really matter if I show up. The listing agent's there all day. I'll just send my buyers. I've got a time slot already booked. If for whatever reason you get tied up and can't make it, always communicate to the listing agent and get permission for that to even take place. They have the right to say no. And if they say no, don't be a jerk and go, well, it's your duty as a listing agent to represent the seller and do your best job for them. So you need to show my buyer without me being present. Now, I know we wouldn't do that. So I say it like that because my first 2 cases on the professional conduct committee, I was able to oversee and interview on those specific topics. What you've got to know now is that agents that have been in the practice of believing that they can just send their buyers out to a showing without them being present, if a complaint is being lodged against them, the complaint is being handled severely. The fines that are going to be coming out against the 2 agents in the cases I were on are going to be big. And one thing you should know is the committee is looking at the fines and in some cases are just doubling them. They're wanting to send the message that you have an ethical responsibility through our code to show up and represent your buyer. So I just wanted to piggyback on what you had said for that day of your showings, Michael, with respect to how the professional conduct committee is looking at it and what the fines are going to start looking like.
And I was quite concerned on the weekend there as to the state of people's health because I had 2 of those agents that sent their buyers without even asking me if I would be willing to show them. They said they both had family emergencies.
That's just because their unlicensed assistant wasn't available.
Well, that was the other one. That was the third one. The other 2 that couldn't make it both had family emergencies. So I thought maybe there was something like maybe in the water or something, and that people were getting sick or something.
Michael.
Yes.
With respect to the family emergency, it's a very common theme. So we've investigated the family. We've investigated the nature of the emergency. And a lot of times it's just not being on time for dinner or forgot to go grocery. Like they're ridiculous. So family emergency is code for I'm just too lazy. It still doesn't stop you from picking the phone up and calling the listing agent to say, here's where I'm at. And in the cases where we were at, those calls were never made. And that's where the issue came into play, which I find really strange that we wouldn't do that, but they did.
I mean, as we went down the touch base line here, eventually I started with, you must show up for the showing. You must bring a business card and please be on time. Like, you know, and then if they came with a business card, I ID'd them as well.
Check this out.
Yeah, I ID'd them as well. So, you know, I just got tired of it. It was just, you know, it was so silly. But that was the only way that I really could protect my seller's interest, was to really, really tighten it down. You know, otherwise I would have gotten stupid. So everyone's clear on the material latent defect portion, that has to be signed, and it has to be on a separate document, and it has to be signed before your client accepts an offer. And yes.
I get, you know, my clients will write on listings, but often I don't have an amount one filled out because the seller doesn't really give notice intimacy. So I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I often make my own. I don't know if I should do that. I just write like, this is separate notice of the related defect app.
How would you know it's a material latent defect?
What? Permit, no suite, or with the suite and stuff. I know that,
What if it's a legal suite?
but I know it's illegal.
How do you?
Well, a lot of times it'll say unauthorized suite.
Yeah.
No, if it says that, but I'm just saying if you just see a suite, and that's the reason for the disclosure of the material latent defect. What does the buyer see when they see a suite? They all think, no, they think it's legal. Yeah. They don't think anything, but it's got to be here because it's allowed to be. And that's the reason for the disclosure.
Okay, well, that brings up a good point though. If we're not provided with that, as far as there is material feedback.
It doesn't fall back on the buyer's agent, it's gonna fall back on the seller's agent. It's us as realtors, it's, yes, the seller has a duty to also make sure it's disclosed, but the Real Estate Services Act says we as agents have got to make sure that there's disclosure. Right?
So as a buyer agent, though, how do we protect our buyer? Other than writing it into the contract?
Well, that would not be proper disclosure, putting it in the contract.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Like, I'm not looking at it from a buyer's perspective. I'm looking at it from a listing agent and making sure that you're taking care of your sellers, right? That's the aspect I'm looking at it at.
Michael,
So if the listing agent does their job properly, the buyer job.
Yes, correct.
Trish had a question. Posting on Realtor marks, buyer's agent must be present at all showings or commission of 500.
I don't know. I've heard some say that's enforceable. I've heard others say it's not. Yeah. Full commission, otherwise $500, if you're not there for physical introduction.
There's a side gig there. You just put on the realtor group, but you don't show anybody's property. $500.
I've heard, I don't know 100%. I'd have to talk to someone as far as whether or not that would hold water. Josh, go.
You can that definitely holds water. It can, if it's done properly, it'll be a contingent listing, and then you would amend the commission field. The seller has to agree to it, and off you go. That's one thing you need to do. You just can't win, out of sort of, you can't put it in realtor comments arbitrarily. The seller has to sign off on it, but it definitely holds water. It's where it doesn't hold water, it's less of an issue, but where it doesn't hold water is if your buyers go and attend a listing agent's open house. When an open house is wide open, the public can go through, and then the $500 claim would not hold water. But if your buyer was out in Hope one day, this happened to me actually, and my buyer's out in Hope and happened to get through some properties by calling the listing agent. That listing agent showed her own listing, even though they could not. Yeah, she's right. You do need your seller's instructions. Jane says. But the listing agent, she couldn't double end her own listing, but she showed it anyways, and to this buyer, and the buyers ended up taking me on as representation. In the end, we got paid a substantially discounted commission. There's nothing we could do about it.
Well, it doesn't affect your duty to represent your client if they want you to write the offer. You just might not get paid for it or paid very little.
Yeah, what Jane is saying is she's saying it's needing to be in writing, and I'm skipping the step that you would want that on your Schedule A, and that the sellers have acknowledged on the Schedule A that this is a contingent listing. But it ends up being a contingent listing if you amend the commission that way. And it does need to be in writing, for sure.
That's right.
What about the open houses that they have advertised that they're by appointment? Does the board look at that as an open house, or?
I think, in my opinion, that would still be an open house. I think they're just doing that for COVID safety, right? Trying to keep the numbers down inside the homes to make sure we keep people safe, right?
You could be right on that one, Michael. I don't know. It feels like a gray area because once they add in the words by appointment, I now feel like it's raised the level of the type of viewing on that property. It's no longer, hey, between 2 and 4, I'll show up whenever I want. It's as a listing buyer's agent, I have to make sure that I've scheduled the time so I don't conflict with anybody else's time slot. I don't know. I haven't seen it challenged yet. It will be, I'm sure, but it hasn't yet.
I mean, those show up on realtor.ca and all the public sites, right? So it's, I mean, my buyer can just go thinking it's an open house as well, right?
Gone are the good old days when you could just send your buyer out on open houses and well, you know, and they typically would only happen because you yourself were doing an open house that weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and the only slots available for viewing were Saturday, Sunday at the exact same time you were doing your open houses. You've got buyers, well, you need to send your buyers out. But in that case also, the same rule in my mind always applied that you would let the listing agent know your buyers come into their place, their open house today, just so that they weren't unaware. I'm always nervous being disentitled to a commission, so that's why I make those phone calls.
We have such a large office that I'm sure that if you were doing open Saturday, Sunday, that you could get one of the newer KW agents to help you out and be able to show your buyers. You know, I work incessantly with my seller buyers to tell them that they're not going by themselves. And I actually do get all my sellers who become buyers, I do get them to sign an exclusive buyer's agency contract when they're in their house. No questions asked. And it's the easiest thing in the world to do. It's not difficult to get them to agree to an exclusive buyer's agency contract. I don't know why the industry is so frightful of them. It's quite shocking. Real quick, because I see that we're running out of time. I can go. I got. Yeah, no, that's what I see. I can see that now. We were going to talk about commissions on your listings. When you get a new listing in, you actually print it off or look at it online. Go over all the details. Go over the commission amounts. Make sure that everything is correct. I mean, you know, the office is checking and putting it on, and there's still a chance for errors. So, you know, do your due diligence as well, and make sure that those numbers and the crux of the listing is correct. I mean, and then if it's not, I mean, obviously a lot of the features of the listing you can change online to the maintain feature, right? And I'm sure everyone here, except for the newer people, knows how to make changes to your listing as you go along now. It's so easy. In comparison to what it used to be. It used to be kind of a hassle. And once upon a time, I know that they're on for kind of like Josh. We had another experience this week. We had a listing hit the MLS, and 3 owners, and only 2 of them signed the listing, and it went live. And not only did it go live, it got an offer. And it got accepted. What? Yeah.
They moved out last week.
Wow. Oh yeah, it had an accepted offer, and only 2 of the 3 owners had had signed the listing and only 2 of the 3 owners had signed the contract.
Oh. How's that working?
So what do you think the validity of the contract is? Zero. You can't fix it.
I'd say it's questionable.
What's that?
I'd say it's questionable. The validity is questionable.
How do you revive an offer where the time for acceptance has been accepted and the time for acceptance is over and one of the 3 owners hasn't signed it?
You never had an offer. You never had a valid listing. And nothing existed.
Yeah. So again,
The listing agent and the buyer's agent.
Yeah.
Didn't check a title search before we put.
oh, and the buyer, not only did they accept the offer as is, they incorporated the title search into and formed part of the contract. So how's that, Josh?
That's a beauty. I like that. I hope it ends up on the professional conduct committee.
Yeah, that was a very good one.
Jane has a couple questions.
Go ahead.
Talking, or are you gonna read it to me?
There's nothing in there yet. Got some more music?
There's your finger thing. There you go. Okay, we're gonna go on for a second. Everyone knows it's Truth and Reconciliation Day on September 30th, right? It's a federal holiday for banks and things like that. I
That's the
think,
most ominously named holiday ever.
yeah, I'm not gonna comment on that. But it is.
I'm willing to.
So just be aware that, I think pretty much everyone has found that they have to fix clothing, but you're not gonna find banks open. You're not gonna, the private sector is still gonna be working. I mean, we work Sunday.
21 deals that had completion dates.
On that day.
28.
But they didn't bring that holiday to light until later.
Like last month.
And then it was only after they brought it to light, then some of these federal agencies said, you know what, I think we're gonna close.
Well, they made it a bit of a stat. So
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, bank holiday now. And the last thing, I mean, I can go on, there's a lot of extra stuff here, but we're almost at time. Promises. If you make any promises, I have another one I came across yesterday. If you, 2 things. I'm gonna go to the first one first. If you're the listing agent, don't have conversations with the buyers. Don't take calls from the buyer. All you're gonna do is mess everything up, cause yourself potential harm. There's no reason. They have their own agent. Let them deal with their own agent. Their agent can come to you and you guys can work through the process. You shouldn't be having direct contact. I know everybody here wants to help, and that's really where I think this happens. Everybody wants to make sure everything goes well. They want to help everyone. Well, then we start making promises to the buyers, and then things don't happen, and then now all of a sudden you've got to fulfill that promise. Whether it's money, whatever it is. I mean, I just will not talk to the other side. All I can do is pray difficult going forward. And if you're going to make any type of promise to, say, your buyers that you're going to help them with something or you're going to help them with some money, put it right. Don't send them a text message. Don't, put everything in writing. Get everyone to, even if it's I don't care if it's on a scrap piece of paper. You sign it, they sign it, everyone's aware, and you're going to kick them back some cash or something. But don't just say things and then not follow it. Anything else, Josh?
are you the second one second?
I kind of blended it all together.
Are we gonna talk about that article?
Which one?
The one where the agent got fined.
Terry posted it on the Facebook group. We could. There was lots.
Touch on it a little bit.
Sure.
So there was like 5 things, obviously, that signing the management property. But 2 of the issues was not disclosing your team. And the second one was not disclosing your commission salaries. So More than 50% of our fee deals come in. It's not done.
Or be actually can put that on the mic.
More than 50% of team deals come in without team disclosures. So we chase agents and then completion comes around and then they don't have it and then we can't pay them. So it becomes a big deal. Best thing to do if you have a listing is put in realtor remarks that offers will not be presented without the attached team disclosure, which you'll upload in your document. And sometimes they say, well, the team disclosure doesn't come in with the offer. Then you go back and say, I need the team disclosure signed, you're going to present your offer, and then there's not going to be any issues moving forward. So
And there was a second case over the summer, but was just strictly failing to disclose, to do the team disclosure. Wasn't it like $1,505 grand or something? It wasn't a lot, but they still got smacked for it. Yeah, one piece of paper, so.
and the second thing is the disclosure of expected remuneration. I have I know the initial is optional, so if they don't initial it, it's fine, but you need to have it somewhere that you actually send it to your client, because some of the feedback I get from agents is it's optional, so I'm not even gonna send it to them. So, and then if something comes out, I basically say, I hope you have email correspondence that shows that you sent it or something from DocuSign, but because that initial is optional, a lot of agents don't even, they fill it out, they submit it, because you don't know what happens.
Is that a team, do you have to do a separate team addendum on all deals, or is it fine for me to have, you know, the disclosure section where it says the buyer has read and is aware that they're yeah. And a buy
It
side.
has to be part of the offer, I'm pretty sure. It can be referred to another document.
Is it part of the offer?
No, you're talking about two sides, aren't you? You're talking about the list side and you're talking about the sell
So
side.
like on a
Like
buy
which-
side, I'm writing an offer
For a buyer.
for a buyer, I have in my.
It could be in the body of the contract, it could be on a separate addendum
Selling
page.
my listing, instead of having a separate team disclosure, you don't have the second to last page where it says the seller has acknowledged receipt and disclosure of representation.
The CPF.
Section 21 of the CPF.
Okay.
Subsection
All your
29.
agents- All your agents, they have section 21,
Yeah.
and that's what he disclosed.
So that I wouldn't need to separate them.
You're talking about the same two things. You're talking about the contract side.
Yeah.
If you're a team and there's only 2 people.
Yeah, you can set them on one page.
You know, your name, that-
But if I had like 8 people, then I'd have to count them along.
And then when you're on the buy side, you have 3 options. Put all your team names in section 21. If it's more than a few, you're not going to do that. Put it in the body of the contract, or give an addendum when you hand the contract back to the listing agent.
Anything else? that You have?
This was.
Okay. Yeah, sir.
Mortgage rates dropped 25 points, so if you didn't need anything to stimulate the market, that's probably gonna keep it high.
A little more gasoline on the fire.
You're looking at under 2% right now, like 29 out of that.
Rates out of all engaged right now.
So good, yeah, 5.35, that's part of the change last week.
I don't know who you are.
Great. But maybe that makes sense, a little more. Most people, we actually know.
Or if you just need a growler. You got that.
I've gone about 85 a little bit.
One last thing, we talked earlier about material latent defects. I know there'll be people in the room that'll want to disagree with me, but if you look at the disclosure statement, unauthorized suite is 4B, which is unfit for human habitation or potentially dangerous. The form really needs to be modified. It needs to include other options, which includes lack of municipal approval. You know, but it really is 4B, and then you got a comment section right below it, and then you can say unauthorized accommodation.
Can I speak to that for a sec? I don't want to jump ahead of Allison, but she does have a question. But to that specifically, the PDS just changed like 3 weeks ago. ECREA has been lobbying for 10 years to change that form because what's happening is there's competing interests in there. That form is a common law document. The standard to which we as realtors are held is through the council, which is a higher standard. The lawyers have finally come together and said we need to remove the seller or the buyer's interest from the form, which is why they created the MLD form. The MLD form is a relatively new form too. So the requirement that we're held to for disclosures around unpermitted issues or material latent defects are to be disclosed on an MLD form, which should become our brand new, like we should be using that form all the time. But the seller doesn't have to disclose those things, and that's why it's not there. That doesn't
on that new MLB form. That's incorrect too, because they're wanting the seller to sign it.
It's an option for them to sign. They don't have to, but they do have to disclose latent defects, not material latent defects. That's our responsibility. Now, as an agent, if you're aware of a material latent defect in a cell and you bring it to the seller's attention after you define it for them, and they tell you they don't want you to disclose a material latent defect, then BCFSA is extremely clear. Walk away from the listing. Don't take it.
Walk away. You can't take it. Yeah, no choice.
So, I thought we could just put that on the PDS.
You can, if you want.
And that's enough.
It is, as long as it's signed before a buyer enters into a contract.
Oh, wow. No, I understand that.
So on the disclosure, I actually spoke to Carol about this. I have one where, as hard as I tried, the buyer did not sign it. It was disclosed in the listing and in the description, wasn't on the PDS. Still did not get that signed, even though the sale's gone through with possession. So, clearly, like, we need to push harder on this on the exact direction for unauthorized suites.
Certainly, or if alternatively, you as the listing agent hand over that document, when you gave the PDS over to the listing agent, make reference to the fact that you supplied the listing agent with the seller's disclosure of material latent defect on such and such a date, which should predate the contract of purchase and sale itself in order for it to have any effect. In which case, and then to some degree, if there is fallout after possession or completion, you've got some evidence that you did your part. Perhaps whether or not the buyer signed it or not, it may not have as much relevance to you, but it may to the buyer's agent.
But if that defect's disclosed on the PDS and your seller can't accept an offer.
Sorry?
Your seller's not going to be able to accept an offer until they have acknowledgement of that disclosure.
The buyer can remove a subject to PDS even though they've not signed it. That's their option to go ahead and remove a subject.
Yeah, but the problem is this is an investor client. They haven't lived in the house. So the PDS is already scratched out anyways. And now, but I got a conflicting message, which is as long as I note that on the PDS, that's enough, which I've done.
So
also I'll do I can go the other route, but like, there's no way I'm going to note that this is inhabitable for a human being when it's just an unauthorized suite. It's such a ridiculous statement. It's that, like, if someone reads that, it's going to sound like the place is condemned.
Well, I mean, assuming it isn't, right, then you're disclosing.
Yeah, but like what I'm saying is 70% of all the houses being sold right now have unauthorized suites, especially in Chilliwack. If BC, if the board doesn't get in line with the reality of the world out there, like, unauthorized suites are just that.
But it's not the cities, municipalities, or the board. It's our requirements under the Real Estate Services Act of BC. It's got nothing to do with any of those other organizations. And they say that we as realtors must disclose material latent defects, and the disclosure must be approved. And the only way to do that is to get it signed by the buyers before acceptance of an offer.
Not to belabor this, Nick, or anyone else in the room that's got interest in this conversation. It's a big one, and I think we should take it to a completely separate session where we hold
Of course.
Michael and Magic Brokers, we discussed defining material latent defects, patent defects, and just latent defects, patent defects, and material latent defects. Define them all. There are courses out there, but they don't do a deep enough dive on it. Having said that, I agree. We should have a separate. Ron, we've talked about this. We should almost have a separate session. So we dig deep on stuff like this.
I mean, if you've got a listing and you've got, say, an investor client that's selling it and there's a material latent defect that needs to be disclosed, then that can be provided on a separate form. It can be one you to write yourself.
On the MLD, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be on the PDS.
I know this. We're running a bit over time. Is there anything else pressing that needs to be mentioned? I've just got one comment now. I'll cut it down.
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah. Okay. So for everyone in the room, I just want to put a bit of fear out there. If you're on Facebook and you see a fellow member out there make a post as a gripe about a deal or an incident that they've had, and you notice that this post is getting traction, please be careful how you comment or what you say. And if anything, say nothing. Guaranteed whoever's griping is sharing only a very small, polished version of the story and not the full story. Something of a nature like this just came before the PCC committee, and there were several of our own KW agents, unfortunately, in there going deep into the rabbit hole on behalf of this other person. And some of those comments were extremely disparaging. And so we're looking at how do we send letters of warning for people who make posts of that nature. And it sounds like you're doing them a favor. You going in, you're just giving them like a virtual hug. It's okay, we'll get through this. It's horrible, those other agents, but you don't know what was going on. We're starting to see that it's getting pretty strange out there. So just know that there are eyes on these posts. There are eyes inside our cone of silence realtor platforms on Facebook and social media. They're not as private as we think they are. So if your comments start going down a rabbit hole, just make sure you're really clear. Check yourself. You're only hearing a portion of that story and not the whole story.
Hey, Josh.
Yeah.
They live by the adage, only positive comments on social media. That'll make it easy for them.
Beautifully said. Yes.
Yeah. Only positive comments, forget all the rest, because it can come back to bite you.
2 questions online.
I think Allison and Jane had a couple questions.
Allison, then Jane. We'll go alphabetically. Hello, Allison, you're online.
She just typed it in. So she had a question. We disclose.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if the mic would work. Yeah, I was just wondering. We put our team disclosure on our contract of purchase and sale, or I've seen other people do separate documents, and I couldn't hear what Michaela was saying.
Basically, what options do you have?
Yeah, like is there one that's preferred over the other, or are they both acceptable?
No, you can do it. If you're on the buy side, you have 3 options. Write it into section 3, put all your names on section 21B, or you can do the addendum. But if your team has, more than 2 or 3 agents, you probably don't want to put it in section 21. And then you're also sharing points depending on how you guys have your team structured for medallion and whatnot.
You have to put that in there as well?
No.
No, okay. Okay, thank you.
Cool. Allison and Jane.
Hi. Again, from the PCC, because Josh and I are on separate committees, so we don't see the same cases. Just a warning, if you're doing contingent listings where you say you will not look at offers until such and such a date, you have to be very, very careful. And if you're holding off showings to a specific date, you have to be very, very careful. If you do get an offer prior to the end of the no showing period and prior to the date of offers. Those are 2 separate sections in the rules of cooperation. you have to disclose differently in both of those cases to anybody who's expressed interest. If it's an offer that comes in before offer presentations, you only have to disclose it to those agents that have asked in writing to be kept informed. However, if you are still in the no-show period, anybody who has requested an appointment has to be advised that you got an offer ahead of time. So there are two very distinct sections of the rules. You've got to be very, very careful. You will be surprised when this most recent case comes out as to how it all played out. But just to be careful when you're doing contingent listings, if you have not taken the course that the board offers, put on by Sandra Wyant, who's past president of the board, she's also Maple Ridge Realtor. Her course is so helpful with all these little things we want to do a little different, making them contingent listings, and there's a whole bunch of rules around them. So make sure you're aware. If it's important enough, I'm sure we can put together a quick course on it in the office, just so that you understand how important it is to keep people advised. Our philosophy, and I'm sure a lot of you have the same philosophy, anybody that's expressed an interest in our properties gets the information. Whether they asked us in writing or not, they all get notified. Touch base, send out a mass notice on the listing, and everybody gets to find out about it. So just keep that in mind. It's better to keep people in the loop, communicate, than to go, well, I don't have to tell that person. I don't have to tell that person, because one of those people will be the one that finds the loophole and sends the complaint to the board. So we don't want you to have to go to the board, and Michael doesn't want to have to go to the board and defend you. So try and just keep that in mind, that you've got to understand the rules of cooperation. You know, when you start reading the rules, you'll find there's a lot of things you don't know. And you don't know what you don't know until you start doing things wrong. So anyways, just be very, very, very careful when it comes to holding off on offers, holding off on showings, and who you keep informed. Okay.
Like, awesome. So play nice in the sandbox, be good at your job, fill in your paperwork, or Michaela will hunt you down. And because we're talking about scary things, Halloween is coming next month, so we're all ready.
And positive comment.
Positive comments. Say nice things or don't say anything at all.
Yeah,
Social
there you
media is
go.
awesome. Like that. Yeah.
Only
We
next
love social media. We love social media. All right. Make good decisions, go forth and sell real estate. Yay! It all failed. Real estate. I don't.